Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Baptiste. You know what I like to do on my show. I want to enlighten you. I want to inspire you. I want to empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today I want to get you fired up about a book entitled Three Dreaming Trees. I know, such an awesome title. Its author is Gaytri Saggar, and we are going to talk to her about this beautiful book that she has come on to share with us. Now, you know what I'm going to say. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee and get your tea, because we are about to get started. Good morning, Gaytri. Thank you so much for being on with me today.
Good morning. Good morning to you.
Now, I love the title of your book, and I can't wait to talk to you about that. But before we do, I want to ask you the same question that I ask all of my guests on my show, and that is, what makes you you? What has helped mold you into the person that you are today?
I believe it is how I was raised and where I was raised. I was born in Nairobi, Kenya, of Indian parents who had migrated from India to East Africa, which, like India, was a British colony at that time. And being raised in a segregated society, the Asians were in one area, the English were in one, and the Africans were completely removed in the reserves. So I think that's what exactly molded me, because I became curious to know about why we were separate from other people. And I think that's what helped me become what I am.
And you know, as you say that, it is so interesting, because we have a tendency to think that when someone doesn't look like us, that their story couldn't possibly be similar in any way. But yet, if we think about it, even here in the United States, there was segregation. There's someone's parents, and I think we forget that segregation was not too long ago, that there was someone's parents, or even especially their grandparents, that could say the same thing. One group was over there and another group was over there, and we never really were allowed to intermingle. So that's something that I think that someone on a very human level would be able to understand where you're coming from. Now, if I understand correctly, you also received your journalism degree. What made you get interested in journalism?
I initially went to India to get my bachelor's degree. And when I came back, with that degree, the only job that was open to me was teaching, but that was not my interest. There's an interesting story behind why I wanted to become a journalist. When I was very little, at that time it was Princess Elizabeth. She's the queen now of Great Britain, and she and her husband had come to East Africa to visit, I think after their marriage. And I had gone to see them in their procession with my father, who had an office in Government Road, and I could see everything from there, and didn't even have to go and stand out in the line downstairs on the road. So when I saw her going in the procession, I saw some people were running with her car, and while everybody else was standing behind the ropes that were separating them. And when I asked my father why it was so, he told me that those are reporters. They are allowed to do that. So I said, that's what I want to be when I grow up. And so when I returned from India, then I was lucky enough to be chosen amongst another 5 girls to study at the International Press Institute to do journalism, because women journalists were not a common thing at that time. And I was the only Asian journalist there, and I was the first Asian journalist in East Africa at that time.
Oh my goodness, accolades, accolades. That is amazing. Such a beautiful story. I love it. And you know, just woman to woman, anytime one of us does something for the first time, I applaud the effort. So bravo for that. That is amazing. I thank you so much for sharing that. We never know how our story is going to inspire someone else to go on and decide that they want to step out in their dream as well. I love it. Now, being an author, is that something that you've always wanted to do, or did you find that it was just the next appropriate step for your life at the time?
I used to write stories even when I was little. There wasn't we didn't have TVs. We just had radio for a little time. And I would sit outside, look up in the sky. I would look at the birds flying, especially the crows would go right up, and I would wonder and I would write about them. And I think imagination soared with that, and that's what made me interested in writing, and that's what made me a writer and a ghostwriter, and I enjoy it.
Now, usually an author has some type of motivation or inspiration. Something could have happened, in the world, and they want to address it. Something happens personally, or there's simply bits of wisdom, nuggets that they want to share with the world. What inspired you to decide that now was the appropriate time to write your book?
I had been writing for some time, but this particular book came about because, one, my younger son was going out with a girl who was Christian, and then later, of course, he married her. And I always was like, I had to know about her religion. Tomorrow, if they get married, they'll have kids. I would want them to know about both their religions, not only my son's. So that was the particular reason when I chose a story based on a Christian theme.
So as you mentioned, you are not Christian. So you, if I'm understanding correctly, you wanted to make sure that any potential children born into an interfaith marriage, that they would have information about both sides. Is your book from the perspective of one side or the other, or do you find that it is a happy blending of this interfaith relationship?
This book is a parable, and this is a parable based on Christ's life, and it has nothing to do with Hinduism or any other religion. Because Hinduism, many people think of it as a religion, but it is not religion. It is a way of life. People say we have too many deities. What we have is that we worship every aspect of nature, because if we miss, say, the sun, we won't be here. If we miss the rivers, the water won't be there. So we cherish all life. And so I wanted to bring something of the nature into Christ's life and see how his life impacted even inanimate things like trees. And so that is the basis of my book.
Now, are there any particular lessons from the story that overlap the religious connotations that you wanted to make sure that you highlighted? For example, if you found 5 stories or 5 incidences that overlapped, how did you choose which ones you wanted to highlight?
And I haven't, like in Hinduism, there are many, many books and stories written about the parables and the fables. I haven't seen many in other religions. And so that aspect would overlap in this particular story, because as I said, we worship or we cherish nature, and we cherish everything that is around us. So that will overlap in this story and what we believe in.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us an example of one of the lessons from your book of a story that overlaps, and how you chose to show the example of that?
Okay, the only story that comes to mind right now is about. I'll have to, nothing is coming to my mind about the story in the parables in Hinduism, but I can tell you about this particular one. Mm-hmm. The trees have their own hopes and their dreams. So these three trees are dreaming of becoming something in their lives. The one tree, like for instance, wants to be changed into a treasure chest so that it can have all the jewels in it. Mm-hmm. The other one wants to become a big ship so that it can travel the world and carry important people in it. And the third one is just wants to reach the heavens, wants to grow tall. So these aspirations are of the trees, but their dreams, like, people have their dreams and sometimes they are not fulfilled and they go from one place to another. So these trees, their dreams are initially not fulfilled. Mm-hmm. But they reach their dreams in a very unique and spiritual way. And for that, people will have to read the book.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. And perfect timing, because it is time for us to go to break. But before we do, Gaytri, could you please remind everyone, what is the title of your book? Where can we get a copy? And how do we stay in contact with you?
The book's name is 3 Dreaming Trees. And it is published by Tellwell Publications. You can get the book from Amazon and Barnes & Noble or directly from Tellwell. You can reach me at my Facebook. It's my Gaytri at gmail.com. And my phone number is 818-770-0710.
Alrighty, listeners, now you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this.
Hi everyone, Dr. Angela here. Did you know that Daily Spark is now on Facebook? That's right, you can visit with me at facebook.com/Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I want to know more about what you're thinking. I'd love to know, which interview did you find the most entertaining or the most informative? I want to talk to you, and I want you to be able to talk to me. Simply visit facebook.com/Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Discovery. No, just a sec.
What would it look like if we listened more? Could the right voice, the right set of words, bring us all just a little closer? Get us to open up? Even push us further? It could, if we took the time to listen. The most inspiring minds, the most compelling stories. Download Audible and listen for a change.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am Dr. Angela Butchester. My guest today is Gaytri Saggar, and we're talking about her book, 3 Dreaming Trees. And I love it. I can just picture 3 trees a-dreaming. I know, it is so cute. I absolutely love it. But that lets you know exactly where I'm going with this. Guess what? It's a kid's book. So you know how I feel about my children's book authors. I absolutely love them because their imagination has to be able to soar in order for our children to be able to have a great time as well. Now, Gaytri, my next question for you is like I said, with this book being a children's book, were there particular lessons that you wanted for the kids or even the reader of the book to take away with them after having read the book?
Yes. We usually, in kids' book, people do see that, they have toys and animals and trees and other objects that they make into stories for kids to be entertained. With this particular book, I want them to understand that even inanimate things like trees can dream. And when they dream, they feel the same way that we as humans feel. And I want them to, once having read the book, I want them to go with this feeling that as we pray and we feel close to God, that these trees' aspirations, also when they are met, they feel close to God. So this is the lesson I want them to go away with.
Now, when you were writing, did you find that the message, or being able to write it the way that you did it take effort to put the message where you put it, or did you find that as you were just sharing the information that it kind of just flowed out of you? What was the writing process with that like?
Strangely enough, when I started, I thought, my God, it's going to be difficult. But then once I started writing it, it just flowed. Because these things like actually took place. I just made them feel that, that like the boat where Christ was having feelings. So all these stories have happened. So it became easier to write about it.
I always love how it's like you when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, when you're in the right vein when it comes to writing, how easily the information just flows, like you said, and it just comes, and you can go back and edit and do all of that later, but it seems like it just it can't wait to get out onto the laptop or onto that paper. I have to agree with you with that. Now, so many times when we're writing, we're thinking about our target audience, like we're thinking about the child or the particular adult that we want to read the book. But did you find that you were also mindful of the person who may be reading the story to the child? If so, how did you include them in your process?
Yeah, that was because the thing is, children's stories usually are read by the parents or the adults in the kids' lives. And I was cognizant to that fact, and I wanted them to understand it also, that that they could easily have a discussion with their children about this, because this wasn't just about trees, but this was also about faith. It was also about our belief. So with this was something hidden in the story, which would have give the parents or the reader an opportunity to explain it to their children or to the kids that they are reading the book to, and enlighten them about what the book was about.
I love that. Now, someone may be saying, well, Dr. Angela, this is Faith Talk Radio. This is your perspective is Christian. And she says that she's not Christian, but she's kind of talking about Christianity. How does that work? So for the person who is trying to kind of wrap their head around it, what do you say to the person who says, how can you write about Christianity if you are not Christian?
I don't believe that a person has to be of one particular faith to know about that faith. I strongly believe that there is one God for all of us. We call it by different names. Jesus was the conduit for Christianity, and there are other religions where they have other conduits to reach to God. When I pray, my prayer goes to the same God that your prayer goes to. Christianity has many good lessons in it, and it doesn't just because those lessons are said or related by Christians that they are not applicable to other human beings. Anything that is good should be accepted by everyone. So if there is something good in any religion, I would take it. It wouldn't bother me, because I believe in God, and I believe that Jesus Christ was also a son of God, like he had other sons. So if people have chosen him as their leader or their conduit to reach God, then who am I to object to it? I can go and sit in a church and pray because it's still the house of God. So for me, I don't believe that religion is narrow. I feel that religion is very broad. So Christianity is a broad subject, and it's not difficult to understand the planets.
You know, I have to agree with you on that. I've gotten into many conversations with various people because they've asked about what do I do when I have an interfaith couple and they come for couples counseling. Interfaith is when one person is of one faith and the other person is of another faith. And it doesn't have to necessarily be as tricky or complicated or convoluted or any other word you want to use there. It doesn't have to be complex and compounded in that way. Because I think that, like what you were saying, is that most people can agree to the most common denominators of all bits of spirituality and religion, and that is to be your best, to always be kind to another, not to lie, not to steal, not to cheat. You know, those very basic golden rule kind of principles that we have. And if we stay there, if we just start there and move within that place, then we can all agree that we are going to try to be our best. And I love that you want to offer that and remind your any of the readers that that's where we can be. You know, that Maya Angelou quote, "We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike," always comes to mind there. That if we could just be kinder to one another, we will see how we're interconnected. I love it. I love it. Now, when it comes to, you were kind of touching on this a little bit with your answer. When it comes to religion versus spirituality, or religion from a very book format versus having a personal relationship, what is it that you want to convey to the readers of your book, or what is it that you hope the readers will understand that you are explaining to them?
I believe that religion was created by people. It wasn't created by God. And the reason the religion was created, I feel, is that we all need to believe in something, number one. And then also, when we are suffering and we have no support anywhere around us, then we want to believe in some power that is there to support us. And that's where religion comes. That's where faith comes. And that makes us feel that, yes, we will get through this. And also, I feel that we all have our own one-to-one special relationship with God. It doesn't have to pertain to any particular religion. It's our own relationship with God, and that is what carries us through. We give it a name. We can call, we believe, because people who believe in Christianity, they have face of Jesus Christ in front of them, and they bow down to Him and pray to Him, and it's their faith in Him that takes them through. For other religions, they do the same. But eventually, our prayer goes to only one God, the power that surrounds us. But we do need religion so that we have something to hold on to.
And, I think that for so many people, they are nodding their heads and they're agreeing with you that their religion, their faith, really and truly is what helps get them through. Like you say, that your faith is what becomes your lifestyle, that it helps you, it guides you, it leads you, and especially in those times when life can get so crazy or hectic or just unbelievable one way or the other, having that faith as your foundation can really be important. I totally agree with you with that. Now, when you were writing, did you find that you needed a particular environment in order to be able to write freely? Did you need it quiet? Did you like people around? Did you find the morning, the evening? What was the environment that you needed in order to be productive?
I usually write in the morning because it's quieter at that time, and I have a set rule. I get up at a particular time, and then after my morning chores, I just go and sit down and write. Because writing is not something that you have to go outside to work and then, through the traffic and everything. This is something that you do at home. So for me, it is like, I go to my den and I sit there and I write, and I don't deal with other people at that particular time. And so I work for about 4 or 5 hours and writing, and then take a break. But if the ideas are running too fast in my mind, then I just stay there. So no, I like to be in a quieter place by myself.
Yeah, not have that interruption or someone come in and break the flow of your thought. I definitely understand that. Now we have about a minute left, but before I let you go, I just wanted to ask, do you have any bits of wisdom that you would like to share with our audience today, just on, you've written such a beautiful book, 3 Dreaming Trees. Is there any last bit of wisdom that you would like to share?
Yes, as I said, I came from a segregated society. I just want people to believe and feel that we are all human beings. we bleed the same,
Mm-hmm.
and our aspirations and hopes for ourselves and our families are the same, irrespective of who we believe in it, which color we are. And I want this to be a happy society where we all get along with each other.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said. Gaytri, thank you again so much for being on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Thank you.
And listeners, I want to thank you as well for tuning in and spending some time with us today. Now, of course, you know that you can always find her book, 3 Dreaming Trees, on Amazon and where books are sold. Well, as always, may you continue to see God's face in all that you do. May you receive His grace and His mercy. Again, know that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.